Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the My Greek Island podcast with your hosts George Tsounyas
and Maria Petrakou. Now today we're talking about a destination which is in very close proximity to Athens called Nafplio, and although you can visit any time during the year, I visited this destination for 2 days this summer and thought it would be good to talk to you about it. Of course, I unfortunately did not get to do everything that we're going to talk about on this podcast today. So, George, we need to go back. I'm taking you with me.
Yeah, I think that's the crucial thing. We need to go back because I unfortunately did not join Maria on this trip, although she did, ask me a considerable amount of times, and I kind of regret it after seeing the pictures and seeing what they got up to. Probably need to listen to her more, although I kind of do listen to you a lot, but I was just living my best life in Athens. Well, it wasn't like the best life, but I was in Athens. Anyway, before we dive in, I always say it every time, but we've got an addition to this, so that's kind of cool. If you're not following us on Instagram, make sure you click that follow button at My Greek Island. And now we are on TikTok under the same tag, under the same name, where Maria and I feature as the models of the TikTok account, and the content that you'll get is going to be slightly different. And finally, if you're not on the website, make sure you follow the website, which is on the show notes.
Exactly. And if you enjoy the podcast, head over and give us a rating or a review on the podcast platform of your choice, because it does help us keep coming back. And we should probably start reading out some of the reviews and ratings. I guess the reviews, sorry, not the ratings, the reviews. And also the questions that we get on Spotify, because Spotify does have this feature where you can add questions. So we should probably check them and talk about them on one next episode.
That's actually quite a good idea. And it was literally something I was going to mention, and you just took the words out of my mouth. And we're like so in sync. So I think without further ado, let's get into today's episode.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the My Greek Island podcast, dedicated to take you, the wanderlust, on a journey through Greece.
There are 227 inhabited Greek islands. Which one will you visit next?
My Greek Island, with your hosts George and Maria.
Okay, my Greek Islanders. So before Maria gets into the nitty-gritty of what she got up to in Nafplio and also Epidauros, we're going to go on a small trip through time and give you some historical facts about this magical city, or exciting, beautiful city. Náfplio, also referred to as Nafplion in modern Greek, is like many towns, but this one in particular is a charming, I would say, coastal town situated in the northeast of the Peloponnese, which is in southern Greece. Its history and geographical locations have made it a place of great historical significance, and is a sought-after destination for travellers, many Greeks, but also becoming more and more well-known with the international community of travellers that are not just looking to go to an island. So in terms of its historical significance, we're going to touch upon that first. Nafplio's history is a tapestry woven with threads of various civilizations. So there's plenty for the, what should we call them, history enthusiasts. The town's roots can be traced back to ancient times, where it was inhabited by one of the earliest Greek civilizations. And in antiquity, it served as an important port and military stronghold. Did you visit the port, Maria?
Yes, you can't miss it if you...
Oh, you can't miss it. Okay. Clearly, I have not been. So I'm just checking that you're following. And one of the most prominent landmarks, which I know, Maria, you went to, Palamidi Fortress. It's perched on a steep hill overlooking the town. I'm sensing this is great for sunset or sunrise views. And it was built by the Venetians. And also, a very interesting and fun fact that we like to do. I mean, I knew this one already, which I'm quite impressed with myself. I don't know if you did. You probably did. But Náfplio also served as the first capital of modern Greece from 1829 to 1834 after the country gained independence. So it was Náfplio before Athens, which is quite cool.
And I'd also add here that it was one of the key destinations for Greece gaining its independence.
There you go. Maybe that could be another topic for like a historical thing. We'd have to proper research that. In terms of its geographical significance, as we've said, it's situated on the Argolic Gulf, and it has a picturesque natural harbour framed by dramatic mountains. And like many areas in Greece, crystal clear waters. And in terms of the town's layout, it has a charming old town, which we talked about, the Palamidi Fortress. Stunning views. And did you manage to get there for a sunrise, Maria?
No, unfortunately not, because
that's something on the to-do list.
Do.
And as I said at the start, it's becoming more and more of a tourist haven. It's very, very well known with the Athenians and people in the region for like day trips or going for a weekend. But it is gaining popularity with the domestic tourists. And we would say, well, I would say, Maria hopefully agrees, it's the gateway to the Peloponnese. And Maria's going to kind of talk us through what she did. And so let's find out about Maria, your trip. When exactly did you go?
Okay, so I went towards the end of August, although I'm going to say here that you can go any time of the year. Náfplio is not a destination that you have to go to in August. It's a destination you can visit at any time. It's a working town. I think it's got about 30,000 people that live there. So you can go at any point in time and there will be a buzz due to the fact that it is a working town. Like there are people living there constantly. The cafes, everything is functional all year round. So it's not just like some of the islands which have less than 100 people living on it in the winter. Therefore, it sort of calms down after a certain point. Now, as I said, I chose Epidauros, Náfplio as a destination in order to use it as my base so I could visit the ancient theatre of Epidauros to see a play. And we do have a dedicated episode on the Athens Epidauros Festival, which runs during the summer months, and we'll plug that episode in the show notes. Now, why did we do that? For two reasons. Number one, it's literally a 30-minute drive, so it's super easy. Number two, we wanted to experience with my friend that we visited other things in the area as well. But also, Náfplio has some very, very interesting restaurants. So that was sort of top on my list to get there.
Obviously.
Yeah, of course. So as George mentioned, Náfplio has a lot of history to offer. It's very picturesque. As I said, lots of great restaurants. And there are loads of things in close proximity, not just for those history junkies. So as I said, we visited the ancient theatre of Epidauros. You have the wine region of Nemea within close proximity. You have islands like Spetses and Hydra and Boros. The volcanic region of Methana, which we've spoken about on the Athens Epidauros festival episode. But it's also a coastal town, so you do have access to the beaches. And as George said, it is a gateway to the Peloponnese. Many use it as a destination to stay, to explore the Peloponnese. So that's a great thing. And it's only a 2-hour drive from Athens. So you can do it for a road trip or even a day trip if you wanted to, just to get out of the hustle and bustle of Athens.
Yeah. And a day trip in Greece would be Monoímeri, which I think is going to be one of the words we talk about later. But you could go on a Monoímeri, which is a day trip from Athens to Náfplio, which I think some of my cousins do, and they go for seafood. Always very jealous when I see that, like in winter and those crisp winter weekends when it's sunny. Anyway, how long would you recommend people going for?
I think it all depends on what you actually want to do. But personally, I would recommend to spend a minimum of a full day in Náfplio so you can actually get to, absorb the vibe, walk down the narrow streets in the in the medieval town. You can also, explore the castle of Palamidi, where you can also visit the where Theodoros Kolokotronis was kept captive. Like we walked into the prison cell, which is quite goosebumps. And then also you can visit lots of historic sites, and of course enjoy some of the food at the local restaurants and try some of the wines. There's quite a few wine bars as well, so you can try some of the wines that actually originate from the wine region of Nemea.
Cool. So definitely at least one day. But if you want to try all the restaurants and the food scene, you're going to need a few evenings. So yeah, quite good to use it as a base, and you can go out and come back. And
exactly.
So who would you say it's for? So who did you go with, and who would you say it's for?
So I went with a friend. I would definitely say that it's ideal for everyone, even families with full children, because it's an easy destination. You can go for as we said, for a day or a short break or longer. Now I'm going to plug something. Don't laugh. Náfplio is also considered one of the most romantic cities in Greece. So, for our hopeless romantics out there, you maybe take your significant other or someone that you fancy and go to Náfplio.
Is that why you wanted to take me?
Yes, George.
What are those? I think when I googled it, there was like those. What are those plants called? With the like pink flower, not pink flowers. The violet.
Let me see if I'm going to get this right, because I always get it wrong.
Or whatever they're called.
Bougainvilleas, I think. Is what it's called. Yeah.
Really pretty, but sorry.
Yeah. Now, there's a book written by someone called Keith Sturgess. I've not read it, which is called Wandering in Nafplio, A Lover's Guide. So it just goes hand in hand with the whole romantic destination, which apparently covers a mix of history. It's also Keith's memoir and a bit of a tourist guide, actually, to Nafplio. So that might be a good book to consider reading before you head out there. And I always think it's interesting to read a book that's been written about the destination, which is not necessarily a history book, but sort of combines other stuff as well, like The Island of Victoria Hitchcock, which I had read before I went to Spinalonga.
Yes. I mean, at this point, it would be good if we were able to say, and if you go on the show notes and click on the link and put in MGI10, you get 10% discount on your order.
Well, you never know.
You never know. We could have affiliate links.
Yeah, soon. I have something in cooking, so keep an eye out, my Greek Islanders. Anyway, so just to move on to who else it could be for. So we've got the romantics, we've got families with children, friends, but also history junkies. If you're a history junkie, you need to visit Náfplio at some point. There's 3 castles, there's UNESCO heritage sites, there's the ancient theatre in close proximity, and there's lots of museums and archaeological sites within close proximity. But then lastly, as I plugged before, great destination for foodies, people that like wine. You can combine it with the wine regions and experiment the gourmet food that a lot of the restaurants offer. And I would like to plug here that since Náfplio is inhabited all year round, that makes a difference on the prices. So it's not an expensive destination when it comes to food. So we were very pleasantly surprised with how well priced the destination was. So just keep that in mind as well.
Yeah. I also like the fact that because it's inhabited all year round, I get the sense that on some of the islands, if you go on the bookends of the season, so like towards the start or the end or off season, that things start to wind down and some things are closed. And I personally don't like that sort of that chilled vibe that much. So like here, whatever time of year you go, you will get that vibe. And because obviously it's not an island as well. So that's nice. And
of course, during the summer it is at its peak.
Busier.
It's busier. There's more visitors. During the Athens Epidauros festival, you have many people using it as a base to stay there to go and watch one of the plays or performances at the theatre. So that is something to keep in mind.
Yeah. And what would you say is the best way to get there?
To be honest, the best way is
Yeah.
to drive. It is
Yeah.
the easiest way to get there. Plus, you can combine it with other things on your way. However, there is always the option to take the bus, public transport, which is called khtel. You can take it from Athens and many areas nearby that will connect to Náfplio.
And usually relatively cheap.
Yes,
The bus
yes,
network
very
in Athens.
relatively
So,
cheap. Yeah, definitely. And then, I mean, of course, if you don't want to drive and taking the bus is not for you, then there's always the option to book a private transfer to and from Nafplio. But of course, that will limit you on how much you can do. And then lastly, I just want to plug that if anyone's looking to, what would be the closest airport, the closest airport is actually Athens Airport, which we know is an international airport with flights all year round from many European and non-European destinations.
Yes. And I think some tourists in Peloponnese is quite famous for the southern part around Kalamata. So if people are in that region and want to do a day trip, I can't see it being too far to go with a car.
Yes.
I think it would be quite nice.
Let's
And
check how far that is. 1 second.
it does. I mean, I just looked now. It doesn't look very far on the map, but I'm not sure about like the road network, how quick it would be. But I feel like Kalamata, famous for its olives, and
so
also
it's about an hour. It says it's another nearly 2 hours, so you can definitely do it.
So
for a road
if
trip.
you are in that area and you want to do something a bit different, that's great. Obviously, you do a lot of research before you go somewhere and where you're going to stay. So where did you choose to stay on this occasion?
So because it was all last minute, we didn't really have many options. Because if you remember, we had plans to do other things, and then I sort of called you and said,
This
George,
one was quite last minute. Yeah,
this was very last minute. I was like, George, we're going to Epidauros. Are you coming? You're like, not too sure. But anyway, we stayed in close proximity to the medieval town, but we were not. We could have been walking. It was like a 15-minute walk, but we did take the car the night just to make things easier. But I mean, personally, I would recommend staying anywhere near or in the medieval old town so you can be on foot after you head back. Parking can be a bit challenging, although if you don't find to park exactly in front of where the majority of the restaurants are, there is a big port, where the port is, there is a big parking lot there where you can potentially park, and it's about 5 to 10 minute walk into town. But there's lots of options. I would definitely say in the medieval town, and there are a lot of hotel and apartment options available to fit all needs. So depending on, I don't know, if you're with a family and you need a bit more space and would like an apartment, they are available.
So we've touched upon, like, there's lots of historical things, museums, and a wide range of things to do. So let's give our listeners, I think, some of the things that they could potentially look forward to putting on their list when they visit Náfplio. Some things you've done, some things maybe you didn't.
Yeah, I'll touch on that. So the first thing is you definitely need to wander the narrow streets of the medieval old town. It's absolutely beautiful. Observe the architecture. It's all neoclassical buildings. As George said before, the bougainvillea trees, perfect for pictures. There's a huge square. Apparently, I didn't get to see these. There are 2 Turkish mosques, and apparently one of them is a cinema and a theatre. And the second one, I don't know if that's still used, but apparently it was the first Greek parliament. But I'm not sure what it's used for today.
Okay.
The second thing that is not to be missed is the fortress of Palamidi, which literally, as you're in Náfplio, you can literally see it. It's like on the top of the mountain, so it's overlooking you. And one thing that happened when we were there, it wasn't a full moon, but it was very close to the full moon. It was as we were getting towards the full moon, and you could see the moon at night time. You could see the moon just above the castle, and it was an absolutely beautiful, stunning view. Of course, pictures did not do it justice, so unfortunately, I can't share that with you. Yeah.
But I think on here, any tips from our listeners of how to capture the full moon amazingly with like a handheld device rather than like a
professional camera
would be greatly appreciated.
How to get, one thing that I want to say here is how to get to the fortress of Palamidi. You can either drive up, which is what we did. However, you need to be careful with the parking because it's very limited. So I would recommend going early. Otherwise, you walk. And from what I've read, there are 999 steps. That's a very weird number. So if anyone
Very
goes
specific.
and does,
Not 998.
that's what my research says. I've not
Fair,
done
we should
it,
go
so
and
I've not
count
counted. And then, as I said before, you can visit the prison with Theodoros Kolokotronis, who was one of the heroes of the Greek Revolution in the War of Greek Independence, where he was held. So that's worth visiting. It's quite. You have to go through this tiny little narrow tunnel, which. I mean, I struggle. I'm very claustrophobic, and I managed to go through. So, just FYI.
Well done, you, hun. How did your friend Melina do in it?
She did better than me. I don't think she has the claustrophobic and the sound noise issues that I do. And then the next one, which unfortunately I didn't get to go to, is Bourzi, which is a small Venetian fortress which was built in the 15th century. It's actually on an island. It's probably the most pictured spot of Náfplio. It's a tiny little island which you can go to either with a boat from the port, or you can actually you can go on a kayaking tour to go to it, which is really cool. So it's very close to the port. And apparently, so the island is called Ayi Theodori, which this fortress is built on. And I would recommend asking the locals, because I've heard that sometimes there are festivals on this tiny little island. So when you're there, check it out. Just below the fortress of Palamidi, there's a historic rock called Agronafplia. And then two interesting facts about churches are Aios Spiridonas, where Ioannis Kapodistrias was assassinated in front of this church, and St. George, which apparently has murals. Not you, no. Which apparently has murals with a copy of The Secret Dinner by Leonardo da Vinci.
Okay. And for those listeners about Ioannis Kapodistrias who don't know, he is one of the I think most distinguished politicians and diplomats of the 19th century in Europe. If I'm not mistaken, there's a university in Athens is named after him.
Yes, it is.
Yes, okay.
It's called the Ethnico Kapodistriako Πανεπιστήμιο Αθηνών.
Okay.
And that's,
you studied in Athens, so
that's the one that I actually went to.
Oh, okay, fine. Yeah, there you go. That's fine.
Cool. For anyone that doesn't know and hasn't listened to the Get to Know Us Better episodes, I am by degree a mathematician, which the one degree I did at this specific university named after Ioannis Kapodistrias, and then the second one I did at the business school, I guess, of Athens, which is referred to with the old name called Asoe. It's very known as Asoe. But yeah, good plug, George.
Yeah. So what else?
You've taken me back to my university years, which was so much fun.
Yeah, maybe we should have like an episode on Maria's university era, my Greek island.
Maria's university shenanigans, the stuff that I got up to. My God.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Is it like this, or is it not as tame?
I think I can talk about all of it, to be honest with you.
Okay, cool. Maybe we should do that. Do like a regression.
I was a bit of a party animal.
Yeah, actually, you have told me this on several occasions, especially in Athens. Maybe that's So let's go back to Náfplio and tell us a few more things.
So the next thing that I want to mention, and I had posted it on the My Greek Island account, and I definitely need to create a reel from it, and my nephews were so impressed, is the Lion of the Bavarians. There is a sleeping lion statue, and I think it's been carved into a hill to honor the Bavarian soldiers who died in Greece in the 19th centuries due to the typhoid outbreak. Now, it's quite high up, so you can see it. If you've got a drone, I definitely recommend droning it, because that way you can understand the depth and the magnitude of this statue, which is very impressive. So I would definitely recommend going there. And then lastly, loads of museums, loads of archaeological museums, galleries. You've got a war museum, folk art museum. There's a children's museum. And the one that I really want to plug here is there is a Gomboloi museum. And I think we need to do an episode about the Gomboloi.
Yes, that's a really good one. Yeah, and what is a Gomboloi for those who don't know?
So it's like a string that has like stones on it, which people
worry
play
beads.
with.
I think we call them worry beads, and you see usually
you'll
older...
see them in Greece, Cyprus, and definitely Turkey. Not sure where they are originally from, but you'll definitely see them in these three countries for sure. I'm not sure if you'll see them anywhere else. I imagine you will. But there is a Gomboloi museum. So it's also worth, and there are quite a lot of shops in the medieval town that sell Gomboloia. So would recommend, you could potentially buy one, and it would, it's definitely a great gift. Yeah. And then, so much to say about this place.
There is, like, it's just, you didn't spend enough time there. Maybe.
No, definitely not. I need to go back. Within close proximity, you've got the home of Agamemnon, who, in accordance to Homer, led the Greeks in the Trojan War. So there's an archaeological site there. You have the city of Tiryns, which again is one of the most important archaeological sites and an UNESCO World Heritage. We have Epidauros that we mentioned before, and also something that you will see on your way and is definitely from Athens and is definitely worth stopping is the Corinth Canal, which effectively links the mainland to the Peloponnese. And if you actually check on Wikipedia, it says that because of the Corinthian Canal, the Peloponnese is actually considered an island. So just FYI. And there's been a lot of funny debates on social media about this, which...
Going back, to that other town, it's called Mycenae.
Mycenae.
I've just looked up. And on that Corinth Canal... I think I've mentioned it before. I don't think I'd be brave enough to ever do it, but never say never. You can bungee jump over, and I've seen quite a lot of people do it. It looks quite cool.
You asked me. I don't remember on which episode it was, but you asked me if I'd do it, and I was like, absolutely not.
Yeah, and just popping off to Nafplio for the day, and I'll just do a little bungee jump, as you do. Is there anything you'll be going back for? That's obviously a yes. But...
Oh, definitely. I mean, everything that I've mentioned that I haven't been to, I would love to go back to. But then the beaches I didn't get to visit, which apparently there are loads of great beaches in close proximity. Apparently there's a few caves within close proximity, I think about an hour away. And one that particularly stood out to me is called Didima, which actually means twins, because there's two churches in this cave. And then, of course, Nemea, which I've been to the wine region, specifically to one winery, but I do want to go back and see more, and also visit the ancient town of Nemea, which has a lot of historic significance.
Wow, that is a lot of stuff
to do, isn't it? I think, quite loaded.
In Nafplio. Yeah, I think people could literally just listen to this episode and write down and look at our show notes, obviously. So, as we always do before we finish... I'm sure you've been going around and taking some top tips. So some My Greek Island top tips for people planning to visit. Yes, and I mean, I've mentioned most of them already. Number one. Recap. Yeah, let's recap. You can use it as a base if you want to visit the ancient theatre of Epidauros. So definitely go and listen to the dedicated pod episode. Check out the restaurants. I actually had a restaurant on my list for years. It did not disappoint. And I'm sure there's loads more in the region, from what I'm hearing, that are definitely can offer like a Greek gourmet version of the Greek food at great prices. So I think that's another great thing to do. Definitely wander the narrow streets and do not underestimate the shops. There were some beautiful shops and boutiques in Nafplio. And as we mentioned before, did you buy anything? No, I didn't. Because I was a very limited hand luggage this year, remember? Because of the tent. Yeah, you were. Yes. But I would definitely recommend checking out the shops, especially the boutiques that sell gomboloi. Potentially combined with the wine region of Nemea. So here I need to plug the My Greek Wine episode. Then I just wanted to give it two tips. So from Athens to Nafplio, bear in mind that there are tolls, and I think it's 3 or 4, and the total cost each way is about 9 to 10 euros. So bear that in mind when you That's in total, not for each toll. In total, each way. So from Athens to Nafplio, you will pay about 9 to 10 euros in tolls.
and on the way back again. And then
Is it good to have cash or card?
You can pay with either.
Both. Okay, cool.
So you can pay with card. I would definitely keep an eye out though, because some people have an e-pass, which is on their car, which they sort of add money into.
Okay, yeah.
And then they just pass through and there's no one there. So
Don't
be careful. You'll understand what they are. They have like the contactless sign above them. So don't go there, but go to the ones that show a person with cash or the cash sign, because there you can pay either with cash or with card. Because I imagine that many people that are visiting and are not permanent residents will not have the e-pass. And then the last thing, to enter the fortress of Palamidi, the cost is €8, which I think is half price for seniors and children. But a thing that they offer is they offer a unified ticket for €20, where you can visit the majority of the historic sites and archaeological sites and museums that I mentioned above, and I'll add a list of which ones you can visit. And it's for €20, and it's not within a day, so you have 3 days to do that. So if you are planning to visit these, it might be worth your while to buy the unified ticket that gets you into all sites and do as many as possible within 3 days.
So I'm guessing the local tourism board is recommending at least 3 days to give you a 3-day ticket.
It seems I mean, if you definitely want to do the historic sites, then definitely.
And unless you want to be exhausted in one day doing them all. Anyway, so I think that comes to the end of the episode. Have you got anything else to add before I
think I've spoken a lot, George, on
you
this
have,
episode.
yeah. I mean, you had a wealth of knowledge on this topic. Obviously, I didn't go. But in the spirit, as we always do on the end of each podcast episode, we give our listeners a Greek phrase for the episode. And in the spirit of Náfplio being a weekend destination for Greeks, we're going to give you 3 words. 3 phrases using the same sort of structure. It's let's go to Náfplio. So we're going to say let's go to Náfplio for the weekend, for a day trip, and also for a trip. So Πάμε για Σαββατοκύριακο στο Ναύπλιο. It's a question. Πάμε για Σαββατοκύριακο στο Ναύπλιο. Let's go to Náfplio for a weekend. Or you could also say, which is colloquial, Πάμε για Σουκού στο Náfplio. So Σουκού is a shortened version of Savvatokýriako, which is very hard to say. So Πάμε για Σουκού στο Náfplio. Or you could say Πάμε Εκδρομή στο Náfplio. So should we go for a trip to Nafplio? And then the final one for a day trip from Athens. Do you want to take it, Maria?
Yeah, so if you literally are a day trip, although you can use the one that George said before, which is Ekdromí, Πάμε για Εκδρομή στο Ναύπλιο, you can also say, if you want to emphasize that it's just for the day, Πάμε Μονοήμερη στο Ναύπλιο. Πάμε Μονοήμερη στο Ναύπλιο.
So the 3 that we have is Πάμε για Σαββατοκύριακο στο Ναύπλιο, or Σουκού στο Ναύπλιο. Πάμε για εκδρομή στο Ναύπλιο. Or the final one, Πάμε Μονοήμερη στο Ναύπλιο.
Yeah, and you don't have to have the ya. You can also say Πάμε για εκδρομή, or you can say Πάμε εκδρομή.
Πάμε εκδρομή.
Yeah, you can. Both are correct.
Yes.
Amazing. So I think that's a wrap, isn't it?
I think it is. Do you want to close it off?
Yes. So thank you everyone for listening. And if you do visit Náfplio any time of the year, get in touch and let us know what you loved.
So I think until the next episode, make sure you follow us on our new TikTok platform, Instagram, check out the website, and we will see you on the next episode. Γεια σας.
Γεια σας.
Right, my Greek Islanders, this comes to the end of another episode of this podcast.
Now you know the drill. If you like this episode, share it to share the love with the My Greek Island community, where everyone is welcome. And
don't forget to follow, like, subscribe, and all that jazz, and maybe give us a little rating from wherever you're listening to us from, so you are notified every time a new episode drops. And if you have any suggestions or requests, get in touch.
And for those of you visiting Greece, don't forget to tag @MyGreekIsland on Instagram for a future feature. Until then, see you later, or as they say in Greek, Τα λέμε.